In this video, I'll forge a sunobe or preform from the rectangular bar I forged in the previous video. If viewers express interest, I'll make a separate video explaining why the sunobe is a critical intermediate step in forging a katana, what its dimensions should be, and how to forge one as perfectly as possible so that when you forge it out into a blade, that blade is also as perfect as possible. In this video, I'll do the forging with minimal explanation, and you can just sit back and watch the bar become a sunobe. I start by rough forging the tang end so that I can hold it easily with my box jaw tongs. Once the tang end is mostly shaped correctly, I flip the bar around and begin forging the point end. I forge the sunobe in short segments, one at a time. Once a segment is as perfect as I can make it, I move on to the next one. I forge the second segment 1 mm wider and half a millimeter thicker than the first. Once I've got the second segment as perfect as I can make it, I carefully blend the first and second segments together into a single tapering piece. Then I move on to the next segment, which I carefully forge 1 mm wider and half a millimeter thicker than the previous one. And once this segment is as perfect as possible, I carefully blend it into the others. Then I move on to the next segment, which, as you probably guessed, I forge 1 mm wider and half a millimeter thicker than the previous one. And I carefully blend it in with the previous segments. To finish off the blade portion of the sunobe, I taper the last segment and blend it into the others. At this point, I flip the sunobe around and perfect the shape of the tang end. And I finish by making the part that will become the point of the sword. After hot cutting a diagonal line across the bar, I center the tip so that it's more or less symmetrical. And here is the finished sunobe. In my next video, I'll forge the sunobe out into a katana blade. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss future videos in this series.